It's just a quick overview of the Hollywood Racks HR1500 e-bike sport rider model rack. Pretty solid rack, easy to install, just a breeze. We're just going to give you a quick overview, not a detailed nuts and bolts, but just an overview. All right, all the parts are out of the package now. We're just going to pan over these. They did a particularly good job of packaging everything. All the items were, for the most part, individually wrapped and cushioned with styrofoam. So everything looks like it's in good order to begin the assembly. All right, well, I'll have to say step one was pretty easy, and these instructions are very well written and illustrated. Basically, it was just sliding the hitch tube into the actual hitch, inserting the locking pin, which is keyed. Covers on it now. I can't see the keyhole, but it's keyed, and then tightening it down with the no lock patented mechanism. And I will have to say, this is rock solid. I mean, it doesn't vibrate or move at all. Step two wasn't very difficult either, just a matter of attaching this main part here into the holder there, tightening it down. I'd also like to mention that the included tools are very solid. You could surely tighten this bolt faster with a ratchet, 3/4 ratchet, but these are pretty good tools that they supply. And I want to mention too, pretty much everything, almost everything, is solid steel on this unit. There's very little plastic. This item right here, where my finger is, that's about a 6-inch segment of plastic, but everything else, boy, it's steel, man. It's pretty tough. Step three was pretty simple also, just attaching these bars here onto the main part, put the 4 carriage bolts through, and the only tricky thing for a second was getting the correct orientation of this plate. So that's the only thing that might have taken me a minute to figure out. Other than that, the instructions have been excellent, and they actually were good on that too. It just, you have to look at it for a second. This step with the carriage bolts, they do give you a supplied tool. I mentioned earlier the tools are pretty good, but I would definitely recommend using a ratchet on that one. That's a 17 millimeter bolt, and it's definitely going to make it a lot faster with the ratchet. That was step three, so we're going to go on to step four. Step four wasn't too difficult, although I did have an orientation issue with just slide down pretty easily. They have to be in an unlocked position. Press the lever to move it up and down. Those weren't any problem at all. But these guys here, down here, the wheel holders, they went on very easily, but the orientation, you have to get that right, and you do want to do it in the correct order, starting with this as number 1. And they give you the order so that they're staggered when you place the bikes on the actual rack. So it would be nice if these were labeled 1, 2, 3, 4, but they're not. So you have to kind of figure it out. It's not that difficult. But the main thing is that they, well, when you look at this, you would think it would be like a scoop, like you'd be cupping the wheel, but it's the exact opposite. And they're going from the lowest end to higher out here. So anyhow, you start with that, slide it down, number 1. you want to make it so that the straps are always going out on both ends of the bike. So you might have to hold them up a couple of times to get them correctly, but basically it's 1, 2, 3, 4 over on this side. So once you get them in the right position, they're done. And that's pretty much it. The final step 5 is basically installing. There's set screws underneath here. I don't know if you can see that, but basically there's a screw there, a Phillips screw, and they just go right in, tighten them down with the screwdriver. They do have step 5 worded a little incorrectly. They say after determining the final position of the wheel holders, install the 2 stop screws. I said stop screws, and but actually it's not the final position. The function of the step screws is to prevent the entire the wheel holder from flying off the back, but you're still going to adjust the positioning when you, after you put your bike in, by loosening the screws here and then sliding a rack wherever you need it. So anyhow, but that's it. Everything else is pretty solid unit. The remainder of the there's steps in here from if you've got a 20-inch wheel, you're going to put the adapter in there. But that's it. All my parts are gone. There's a security cable left, okay, for later, and just more tools. They do give you that red strap, and just a security strap. I don't know, something happened somewhere, but they've decided to include that into the kit. So that's about it, and looking good. All right, and that's it. Here it is with 2 bikes attached. Real simple setup here. One thing to remember when you are putting the bikes on, I recommend starting with the front wheel on the inward bike, of course, first, because that's going to wobble around. It's much easier to drop that in and then secure or drop in your rear wheel. Put the straps on the rear, of course, and the arm hooks. Here's the rear one back here. They're locking. Now I did label mine inward and inner and outer, just to avoid any confusion later on. The longer one is going to go in toward your vehicle. And this particular bike, we didn't need a crossbar on it, although I have used it with a crossbar in the past. But anyhow, it doesn't really need it. So got your first bike in, just drop your outer bike in, strap down the wheels and secure the arm hook for that. I don't think it matters which order you do those in. And that's really about it. This rack is rated for 80 pounds per bike, which is pretty high. These particular bikes are, I believe, 52 pounds each. So they're well within the capacity of the rack. It's pretty solid. You know, it will wobble a little, but it's overall it's pretty solid rack. You can get this over at Hollywood Racks and from a number of distributors. Right now its retail price is $4.99, and Hollywood Racks does offer free shipping. At least they did on the day that I looked at it. As I mentioned earlier in the video, I bought mine on Amazon, and not sure if, had I known that Hollywood Racks was offering free shipping, I probably would have done it direct through them. But that's it in a nutshell. Hollywood Racks HR1500 Sport Rider rack for e-bikes. Great value.